Despite not even being halfway into the season, we've already seen tons of controversy, drama, and surprising events take place. Some have been due to poor performance, GM mistakes, or just plain bad luck. Regardless, in this video, we're going to take a look at 5 NHL teams' biggest regrets thus far in the season. Keep in mind, I didn't want to make a super long video, so I just really tried to stick with some that really stood out to me personally. And with that, here are 5 NHL teams' biggest regrets of 2021. So the Canucks have had more of their fair share of woes early on in the season, and this is well known. Everyone struggled on this team. From offense to defense to goaltending, the whole team has looked like furthest thing from the one that made it to the second round last postseason. While it's pretty obvious, at least to me, that another regret on Benning's mind at this point would probably be letting go Tanev for Schmidt, I think the biggest regret has to be weighing on the team and the fan base is letting Jacob Markstrom walk. Now, obviously, Vancouver is in a cap crisis, and this is well known, and Markstrom wanted more money than the team was willing to give. But honestly, it's just kind of much of the GM's fault that they're here in the first place. So Eriksson and Sutter deals alone, both of them are just yikes. So while there may not have been much of a choice in the matter, when it comes to, keeping Markstrom, having kept him, you have to at least entertain that not only the GM, but the fan base and even the players probably miss having the goaltender operating as the needed band-aid in the crease and bailing them out time and time again. And with that, there's Braden Holtby signing, and that, comes into play. Obviously, Holtby didn't come in with as steep of a price tag, but many believed that this would be a lateral move, meaning it wouldn't be much of a downgrade. As a team with a struggling Schmidt, no Tanev, Markstrom, and Holtby instead, has demonstrated thus far, they're definitely not as competitive as they once were. Now, it has been quite a hot minute since I brought up this character's name, and for good reason, because when you're on the taxi squad and sitting at home, well, there's not much happening. Regardless, coming into the season, after registering 53 points in 68 games played in last campaign, the sky was the limit for Tony DAngelo coming in, as the defenseman was given a nice 2-year contract for his efforts valued at $4.8 million AAV. So theoretically, at 25 and entering his prime, DAngelo was naturally expected to be a bright spot on the back end for the Rangers. But as the Rangers struggled, so did DAngelo. But unlike other members of the team, number 77 wasn't able to take the criticism and heat lightly. And after being benched multiple occasions for poor performance and sportsmanship, as most of us now know, the defenseman snapped on Rangers goaltender Alex Georgiev following an overtime loss at MSG at the hands of Pittsburgh. So while we've obviously heard this incident more times than most of us would like to, it still has to be one of Jeff Gorton's biggest regrets of his career. As in trading for a guy that already has a lengthy history of issues regarding attitude and overall sportsmanship. And as most of us also know, DAngelo has been completely barred from ever dressing for the Rangers ever again, regardless of the fact that his contract might remain on the books for quite some time. So if you ever had a chance to watch my most recent video before this one, I talked about the Albatross that Erik Karlsson's contract has become for San Jose, as they were forced in result to not only let Pavelski go, but to also give up a first-round pick in the process. So considering the state of the team now, Karlsson's decline over time, the contract's value and length, if I were Doug Wilson, I would definitely be losing some sleep at night over this questionable move. At the time, Karlsson had quite the reputation that was much better, but still, for San Jose at the time, in my opinion, they had Brent Burns already, who has struggled as well, but has been the go-to guy on the blue line for a while. I also really don't think the team valued Pavelski as much as it should have, and now in result, this poor fan base is being forced to watch Karlsson basically whittle away and watching a pick who they could have had in Tim Stützle possibly having a colder season. Like I said, for this team, this decision is probably haunting them right now, no doubt, but it's only going to get worse from here and continue to, mark my words. Now, as a Pens fan, let me just say it took me a little time to decide which regret or mistake I was going to choose for this season, because there's so many. But when I thought about it, Cody Ceci isn't signed for that long, and yeah, Murray's gone, but he's also struggling. So the biggest one comparatively, unless we're talking about, letting JR stay in general for as long as we did, it would have to be the Hornquist-Matheson trade. Now, obviously, there were some other pieces in this deal, smaller ones considering, but with the contract's value and length that Matheson's has, Knowing his previous struggles, letting Hornqvist go for him, in my opinion, was a major mistake. Obviously, yes, Horny is slowing down some, getting older, but maybe holding on to him for maybe just this season would have been better. But, I mean, come on. Matheson is a defenseman, has been injured already at one point this season, so he's missed some time, but he has 1 assist in 6 games. And looking down south, well, Hornqvist has literally been on fire. Different team, sure, but when you see him having the same points as Sidney freaking Crosby in 13 games played at 12 points, and half of them are goals, mind you, it's just like, why, Rutherford, why? Obviously, as I mentioned in the worst goalies of 2021 video, Matt Murray has been one of the worst right now in the league. And obviously, that's not all of his fault, as the Senators have been struggling as a team, pretty much all season. But considering the value, the length of the contract, and Murray's play thus far, there have to be a decent amount of Senators fans out there that agree with me. And yeah, there's the cap ceiling thing, I get that, but expecting a guy that's already struggled a lot to come in and, magically make things better and make up for the lackluster defense in front of him, I mean, no offense to him, but he's no Markstrom or Vasilevsky to me. He's won 2 Stanley Cups, yes, but I really have a feeling, having watched Murray for so long in Pittsburgh, that he's not going to suddenly be able to carry a team in nets. He's going to continue to be mediocre, unfortunately, which, isn't a terrible thing if you're a backup. As I said, the team has struggled, but just like last video, take a look at Mikko Koskinen's stats, for example. We know, at least if you follow the North Division, that it's basically 80s hockey up there, meaning nobody truly plays defense except, so Koskinen has made 387 saves, okay? Murray has made more than 100 less at 277, and Koskinen still has a better save percentage and goals against average. So if you watch Edmonton, they win basically mostly because of him, McDavid, and Draisaitl. It's not because D-men are taking away passes and constantly blocking shots. Remember, it's the North, where you have literally 2 6-5 games taking place in one night. Anyways, no disrespect to Murray, I really hope things turn around for him, but taking all of this into account, if they aren't already regretting this deal, I think the Senators eventually will be.